So, all right, we're recording.
All right. Welcome back to, this is now episode 3 of the podcast. I'm joined by Derek Swanson.
How's it going?
Bogren. Today we're going to be talking about social media addiction and how particularly teens struggle with social media addiction. It kind of consumes their life in some ways. Again, this is not all teens, but this is a good majority of teens that are having this problem. So, Derek, what are some of the things that you see, maybe if it's like friends, family members, cousins, stuff like that, that you see them maybe they're on social media too much, or what are you seeing?
I see, surprisingly, from a lot of my older relatives, they're just on Facebook constantly, to the point where all of their news comes from Facebook. Everything they keep up with their friends is just on Facebook. They don't have as much human face-to-face interaction as they used to. And they are just glued to it at the end of the day. Much like, older generations probably come home and just watch TV at the end of a long day at work. Now I'm seeing a lot, especially with my own parents and other relatives, they come home, they're just on Facebook the whole rest of the night, watching about people they went to high school with in the 80s that have no importance to their life anymore. All they want to do is just be about somebody's business, just knowing what's happening. So
Yeah.
I think that it is kind of a multi-generational problem that we're seeing right now. Now granted, it's definitely
More prevalent in
yes.
Gen Zs.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is more widespread in the younger generations, to the point where kids are spending hours and hours and hours a day on their phones, on social media, up to 6 hours a day, browsing through Instagram, looking on Twitter, Reddit, looking at memes, playing on Snapchat.
Yeah, dude. I get my daily report on my iPhone, and it's like, oh, you spent 4 hours on your phone today. I'm like, man, 4 hours? Wow, that's a lot of
Really?
time looking at the
We pull
screen.
that up. We should pull those up.
I'm scared to see
Yeah,
mine. I'm embarrassed.
It gives you your daily time on how much you spend on your phone. I gotta find where it's located in there.
I
But
gotta find where to find that, because I never even checked this.
you'll be amazed. It's more than you
Mm-hmm.
would think. Let me try and find it here.
Absolutely. I know that my number one app.
Yeah, if you go to settings and you go to screen time, see my daily average is 3 hours and 56 minutes. And that's actually up 19% from last week.
So I don't have screen time turned on, actually.
Okay. So yeah, I have my screen time turned on.
Okay.
But you know what I'm seeing a lot? I have cousins, and I know, my cousin was telling me, and he's 13. He's 13, and he goes to school in the city. And he's telling me that he's got a kid at school that, between Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, and there's a 13-year-old is depressed because he doesn't have any friends outside of his friends on social media, or the internet, I guess, is a way you could phrase it. So he has no social life, so he goes home every day, and if his friends, his so-called friends, aren't on social media, and they're not, responding to his Snapchats or liking his Instagram posts, then he feels like he's not, well accepted by his classmates. And it's crazy, because when I was researching this topic, you see a lot of articles about kids who are really young committing suicide because they're getting bullied on social media, because they're on it all the time, or they're on it all the time and they're depressed, so they so they have all these major problems at a very young age. Really, that's an age that when I was growing up as a kid, I was super happy at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. My mom was making my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was going to school. There's nothing to complain about. But now with social media, it's changed the game a lot.
Yeah, well, you speak of that depression. I mean, anyone who has taken their life over social media, that happened in my high school. I remember there was a kid. I don't want to reveal too much about this situation because it's very personal. His family is still obviously not dealing with it well. It's a truly terrible, sad loss. But it was a freshman in high school, and he had some sort of developmental disability, and he was just harassed constantly on social media, on Twitter. Kids would roast him. Kids would make fun of him all the time. They'd retweet just hateful things about the kid, to the point where he didn't even feel adequate enough to even show up in school. Because imagine, if they're saying this over social media, imagine how much
What they're going to say to his face.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
What a lot of people don't understand is, when you're hiding behind social media like that, all these trolls, a lot of these same people aren't going to say anything to your face.
No.
What I say over Twitter to somebody, I can tweet at any politician, any sort of figure or celebrity or anything. You can say just dumb, ignorant stuff to them over Twitter, but you're never going to face the repercussions of that. What's going to happen? Your account gets suspended?
Yeah.
But so anyway, this poor kid, he eventually just had it one day, and over just this constant harassment and bullying that he experienced, and it did bleed into school too. I'm not going to say that it was all over the internet, but you know, it led to him taking his own life at 14 years old. You know, and it was, as soon as that happened, that didn't get talked about on social media at all. It wasn't touched by anything. You know, nobody was talking about that on Twitter, Facebook, any of those. It just went completely silent. So people are kind of want to have this glorified image of what social media is, that it's just, oh, it's just all about fun, it's all about showing what I'm up to today.
Yeah.
And then people don't cover anything of substance on it at all.
You know, it's interesting that, like, you mentioned that, because, like, people put their best life on social media. They don't show you what's going on behind the scenes of that best life. So, granted, like, I'll go on social media and I'll see Derek, he's posting a photo shoot in Downers Grove over the weekend, and you know, I go on, I show him some love, but like, you don't know that, man. Maybe Derek like really hated doing that photo shoot. I mean, you never know.
You don't know that I took 400 pictures that all got deleted that I'm never gonna let anyone see. You know, you don't know the truth behind it. Those are 4 that I liked, and you know, there's so much work that went into that, and you know, people are just gonna pick the best and brightest moments of their lives to showcase people because they don't actually want to air out their dirt, I suppose.
Right, and I guess what I'm getting to is like social media oftentimes becomes a competition of like, my life is better than yours. So, you know, maybe, I don't know, you're really interested in someone and they're like, man, I was in Disney World, and then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, you post a photo from like a year or two ago, it's like, oh, I was just in Europe, you know, whatever. You're trying to like one up them in every aspect of life. And maybe that's not a good example, but, you know, there are things like that happen all the time. I see it on social media, I'm like, man, like, that person really like want to talk about their experience there, or are they just trying to like one up somebody else that posted something? You know, you just don't know. There's ulterior motives that go on behind social media
I couldn't have said it better, man. I think it's interesting too that people will have, you know, secondary Instagram accounts like Finstas, so they can just actually air out that side of them that's too ugly for their main Instagram account or any number of other social medias. You know, they'll put that out there and say like, my ex is terrible, they cheated on me, and then they air out all the dirt about this other person on there on a private story.
Yeah.
Something private, something that only select people have access to. So they're allowing maybe like 30 people or something to see the real side of them.
Yeah.
And then their other Instagram, it's just complete night and day. I've always found that so interesting, and I've never really understood the appeal of like fake Instagrams where you just put out all your drama in your life. Which, I mean, I guess it would make sense in a way, but people don't want to let the entire world know about all of their problems. You know, it's very revealing, and I'm sure not a lot of people are very comfortable with that. But if you hear of any sort of celebrity that gets on like Twitter or something, and then they tweet out, I'm going through a tough time right now, or my career's kind of going downhill or something, if they do that, they get a ton of fan love and fan support.
Yeah, if you remember this, it was Kevin Durant when he left Oklahoma City to go to Golden State. He made a burner account, so a fake account, and all he did was go on and comment like, "Oh, Oklahoma City was such a trash franchise," blah 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 blah, and everyone was showing that account love, which was Kevin Durant. Come to find out, and you know, everyone was like, "Man, yeah, man, you should have left that place," and it probably gave KD the reassurance he needed, you know, in his decision of leaving. But ultimately, when that actually surfaced, like a year or so after he left, he got a lot of hate from the media, but not from the fans.
No.
So like fans loved him. Were like, man, you know, he did what he had to do to make sure his image was intact and whatever, you know. But if that was really his decision, he was confident with it, he wouldn't have needed to create that burner account. So I think he was like went through an addiction to social media and had to use that as like an outlet for himself to get the closure he needed in leaving an organization like that.
What does that say about our society now that somebody has to go, or not has to, but decides to go through a different account other than their own name? They make a fake account just to air out the truth about an actual situation.
Yeah.
And then on their main account, something that they want to have the positive image of, that, you know, everyone's going to see, they don't want to touch topics like that.
Yeah.
What does that say about it?
I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting question, I guess, that I need time to think about. I mean, it obviously says that maybe we, as a culture, have a social media problem, and I think, you know, a lot of people are talking about it. I think that's a great way to end this podcast, is that something that people can, you know, viewers watching at home and listening at home can reflect on. You know, something that maybe, do we have a social media problem, or are we not teaching social media the right way? Like, are we not teaching kids how to use social media? Because I feel like my younger cousins, they're just like going on social media and doing whatever they want. There's no like, hey, you know, you probably shouldn't post like 100 times a day. You know, I mean, you probably shouldn't spend 3 hours. So I think once more research is done and there's more evidence as to, you know, yes, it's linked to depression. It's 100% linked to, you know, anxiety. Once they can put those pieces together, which is a complex equation, you know, I think they'll have the answers to that question of whether we really do have a severe problem on our hands. It could be the next crisis in America for all we know.
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. I think that you bring up a great point too, that screen time application. You know, I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna be using that on my own phone now. I wasn't even aware that it existed.
Yeah.
I've had iPhones for, you know, some time, but no, especially if you're a parent and you have a kid that's gonna be using social media. I mean, you can tell your kid not to, but kids are their own free thinkers. They're gonna do whatever they feel is best if they have their phone in front of them unlocked. So if you have something like screen time, you can at least share with them like, hey, you're wasting 7 hours of your life on Snapchat. Your grades are terrible, maybe in this case.
Yeah,
But
like maybe you
something-
should change something.
But you need to change something. You need to get your things in order because you can't be dedicating this much time to an app that gives nothing to you. It
Right.
provides nothing except instant gratification and can honestly, in the long term, make your life a lot harder. If you're more anxious or more depressed, these are things that we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great note to end the podcast on. It's just, I guess our advice for like all the people watching back at home is just think about what you do, what you post. Think about the fact that spending a lot of time on social media could potentially have these problems such as depression, anxiety, maybe a lack of social life. You know, you have like obsessive compulsive disorder where you have to, you know, spend all your time on social media. So I think, you know, that's a great way to end the podcast. I thank Derek for joining me on this episode. It's always great to have Derek around. He's a really smart guy. So.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem,
Appreciate
man.
it,
All right.
All right, I guess we'll call it a day.
We'll call it a day.
Some Joe Rogan music in the back.